Hello, good afternoon. I tell you what, I must apologize to you about that video, that induction video. It's really getting me down. I've got a team and they've been working on it since Monday. And for some reason, 1 minute it would play, 1 minute it would stick. And it just, Anyway, good evening, guys. And this is my first one tonight. I've got another two to do. I've got the wonderful Jane Bucker on after. That's going to be really funny. And then I've got Joe on as well, and that's going to be really funny as well. So it's going to be really good tonight. In the meantime, I've got Warren back on a Wednesday. I love it. I always look forward to having a chat with Warren because it's always really good. And a lot of people like watching him. So I thought, oh well, okay. Warren, good evening.
Good morning here. Good evening there. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can see it's still well, it's a gray Vancouver day here today. So
look at all those buildings out there in Vancouver.
Yeah, downtown Vancouver. I mean, it's a heck of a lot smaller than some other big cities, but it's our big city.
Good, Vancouver, love it. Anyway, tonight I want to kind of like look at like child abuse and stuff like that, if possible, because it's bringing it up on the news and everything, and there's things that we can talk about and there's things that we can't. But I was watching a video just now. You probably came in and I was kind of like going over a video because I had to check the video.
Yeah.
Let's watch the video, then we talk about it after.
Yeah, that sounds good.
There, stop crying. I said stop crying. Stop, I said, or I'll give you something to cry about. Look at you, you're filthy.
Child abuse comes in many forms.
Stay in there until I get back.
Neglect is common. When parents get help, there's hope for children. Prevent child abuse. If you or someone you know needs help, visit helpandhope.org.
Mommy's really sorry.
Well, that was just a kind of what goes on, with child abuse.
All right, class, don't forget the essay on how much you love your family. It's due tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone want to go hang out?
No, sorry, I have to do homework.
Oh no, I'm gonna go have a sleepover with Alex. How about you? Oh, sorry, I have to go help my mom at the house.
I love my hands, but it hurts to pray. The life I have isn't what I'd seen. The sky's not blue and the field's not green.
Oh, good, you're home. Bring me a cold beer.
Here. Last one, you finished them all.
What did you say?
That was the last one.
Damien, are you playing with Daddy?
All right, go. Nice catch.
Damien. Damien. You okay, man?
Yes. Well, no. Yesterday, tried to. Well, I had a knife, and I was trying to. Actually, never mind.
Now that was a true story about Damien,
Yeah.
and what happened was with Dave. I don't know if you've seen it before. Have you seen that video before?
I've heard of it before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and what a shame. You know, it happens, and you know, the child abuse is actually in US. It's actually gone up. You know, gone up around about 20% since COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's really, really high at the moment, and it's really bad, though, isn't it, Warren?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard video to watch, knowing that is going on, and that kids feel as though they're stuck between hurting somebody that they love, and hurting themselves, and it's really sad. It's a very distressing situation. There's just a lot of households that are sitting in that situation where you may not even recognize that you're a performer of abuse through emotional manipulation and the yelling and isolation, sleep deprivation, all these sorts of things. There's a lot of things that as parents, you know, on the inside, the first video that we watched there with the whole, you know, I'll give you something to cry about. Inevitably that goes through every parent's mind when their kid is screaming, right? It's why are you screaming? I you know what, if you're going to scream, I'll give you something to scream about. It's about whether we take action on that or whether we can regain control of ourselves. And that's the challenge, particularly if you grew up in an environment where that was the natural reaction, you know, and a lot of us did, where we had parents that spanked us or you know, did those sort of things because that was common day discipline. And being able to break that cycle and change it to one where you're not using those methodologies for correcting behavior or for altering behavior is incredibly important.
Oh yeah, definitely. The trouble is, you'll see, when somebody is younger and they kind of like when the younger person is abused, say, you know, they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And when they come to a certain point in their life, they're thinking, hang on for a second, you know, they're going to be suffering inside. And the trouble is, then things will happen to them. And people who's been abused sometimes hold off. They don't want to make relationships, or they don't want to kind of like.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
They're afraid of every interaction because it may wind up in that abusive relationship.
Yeah, it's really hard though. It's really hard though, isn't it? When
Yeah.
someone who is kind of like, you know, domestic abuse, when someone kind of, you know, it's like that first video when the father kind of like hit the son, you know, and I think what we need to do, you know, as parents and everything, we need to stop and think before we hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it can be very hard. It can be very hard. You have to turn it into muscle memory. So before I started my podcast and had a lot of the things sort of happen over the last year with my family, I was a yeller. Like that was my natural reaction. That was the environment I grew up in. Was, you know, something's happening, you yell, you escalate your voice until such a time where you're getting the response that you want. And it's a huge problem, because it's just as much abusive as the physical side. it led to kids being scared of me, right? They didn't want the yelling, and so they avoided those actions. And I think you and I have talked about this before, is you're essentially a leader to your kids, and you can lead through two methodologies. You can lead through respect, or you can lead through fear. The benefit of respect is that they will continue to do what you want after you're gone, because they want to continue to earn that respect, and they believe what you believe. They want to follow your course of action. If you lead through fear, the second you turn your back, there's no repercussions for them. So there's no incentive for them to continue to do what it is that you want them to do. And so yelling and abuse is essentially a leadership through fear style. And it is effective as long as your eyes are on them, but the second your eyes are off of them, everything falls apart. And so I came to that realization and had to change course.
Oh yeah, of course. Because as parents, we kind of like, when my children used to be, a pain in the backside, say, sometimes you got fire in yourself, and you're thinking, right, in a minute I'm going to give them a good old smacking in a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you feel it inside. You feel the anger.
Yeah.
And it's really tough. But I remember when I used to kind of like play up when I was younger. It was either a smack or a belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the wooden spoon.
Yeah. It's, and the trouble is, you get of course, wooden spoon and ruler, and the trouble is, but these days it's so different because you're not allowed to hit your children now. If you think so.
Well, and we shouldn't hit our kids. I mean, all we're doing is teaching them to then carry that on. Which is a big problem. I mean, we have to break this cycle of physical abuse at some point, right? Because you look at the scarring that it leaves kids with, and then their interactions, they lean towards physical. Their then public response to a challenging situation is a physical confrontation.
I've known someone, who was beaten up when they were a child.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and when they got up to a certain age, they beat their partner up.
Yeah.
Because of what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
And they had to go and get counselling. They don't do it now, but they had to go and get counselling and everything, and they had to kind of like control their temper and everything. And
it's funny if you look at the statistics of physical and emotional abuse in a household, the parent is trying to stop the child from doing certain things, right? And you could say a lot of heavily punitive families are trying to avoid their kids from getting involved in drugs and premarital sex and poor academic success and those sorts of things, right? And there's actually a higher correlation between physical and emotional abuse and all of those problems actually taking place. So you wind up creating you wind up creating exactly what you're trying to avoid through having more punitive measures. And so if you go the opposite direction and you follow, families where there's supportive conversation and open communication and emotional support, those sorts of things, they have way less incidents of drug usage, young alcoholism, premarital sex and teenage pregnancies, runaways, those sorts of things. And so through physical abuse, we're creating the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and that's true. Yeah, it's really tough, isn't it?
As a parent, it's really hard when it's your first reaction. It's really hard.
Yeah. How do you control your children then?
Created new muscle memory, because as I said, yelling was my first response. So I started doing a lot of things with regards to meditation, and I did brain training with regards to changing the way that my brain waves work, because I was always in fight or flight mode. I'm a fairly intense person naturally. And so what that led to is that I was kind of always on edge. And with kids, you have to be able to accept the variations in situations. And so I wound up seeing a clinic that does neuropsychotherapy to help alter the way that my brain worked. And that's helped me a lot. It's also making sure, doing breathing techniques. All these things sound kind of hokey and corny, but they really work. It's just like muscle memory from a physical perspective. You're doing the exact same thing from a neurological perspective and psychological perspective, that you're training your brain to take a break before you respond so that you can act, not react. And that's a huge difference. They sound the same, but acting is out of intention. It's out of following your principles, versus reaction is something in the moment and is being driven by somebody else's actions and somebody else's principles. And so being able to alter your muscle memory with how you deal with situations is huge. And it's just repetition. You're never going to be able to do it all at once. It's not a cold turkey thing. It takes time, and it takes practice to get there.
Yeah. Let's watch just another video I got here.
Sure.
Lucas perde o Mundial. Que merda.
Tudo bem aí, moleque? Caiu da bike? O que houve? Eu te vi correndo, pelo jeito gosta de corrida. Meu nome é Gustavo.
Me chamo Lucas. Minha bike já está velha. Ela fica saindo da corrente.
Ah, deixa que eu te ajudo com isso então. Eu entendo um pouco de bicicleta. Se você quiser andar mais rápido, vai ter que apertar as correias.
Tu entende de bicicleta?
Era o que eu mais fazia quando tinha a tua idade. É o seguinte, eu posso arrumar ela,
sorry
mas ela
about
vai
this.
continuar caindo.
Wrong video.
O que eu fazer para arrumar ela?
Olha só, eu posso encurtar a correia.
But the trouble is, sorry about that. But the trouble is with anything like this, with child abuse or anything, do you think the government is doing enough?
I think that's a hard one to say. I have a difficult time advocating for too much government intervention in the household, because I do carry some libertarian ideals, and that people should be able to run their household the way that works for them. There's lots of people that would say that certain religions are abusive, but I'm a believer in freedom of religion, that sort of thing. So I don't want to advocate for too much government intervention in the household.
Okay,
but
let's forget about the government intervention then. Let's go to your household. So
yeah,
how do you control your household then?
So there's a lot more reward based than punishment based. We've been moving towards, because we found that punishments don't work. So
Right.
Previously there would be, okay, if you don't get this done, then you don't get technology, or if you don't do this, then we're not going to get ice cream, or those sorts of things, right? It was largely stick based rather than carrot. And what we've uncovered, and not to the point of bribery, but to the point of that they need to earn certain things, certain benefits, right? So technology time is, these are the chores that need to be accomplished. These are the things that need to be done in order to be able to have this amount of time on technology. Good behavior, like not fighting for the day, is going to get this. We're going to have a yes day in a couple of months. We're going to head out to a nice park locally, or that sort of thing. So there's non-monetary based awards that take place because of reinforcing the behavior that we'd like to see, right? So as an example, yesterday we went out for a bike ride, and the girls, the older two, biked off to home on their own, and I was probably 30 or 45 seconds behind them. And I come out, and my mother-in-law is standing out with the two older girls, and they're screaming at each other. you know, at the top of their lungs in the neighborhood, that sort of thing. And so took them inside, sent them to their rooms, and then went inside and talked to each individually, got their stories, and just said, look, this is unacceptable behavior. You know, what are the things that we want to model in our household? What are the behaviors that we think show good character traits? And so they would repeat them back to us. And I said, what are the 4 questions you need to ask yourself before you do something? Is it going to hurt somebody else? Is it going to hurt me? Is it going to make mom and dad upset? Is it going to make mom and dad proud? Right? And so I went through all the different questions with regards to the situation and said, you know, did you come up with an answer there that is contrary to what our family beliefs are? Well, yeah. Okay. So should you have done that? Well, no. Okay. So what can we do to remedy this? Well, I should probably go apologize to my sister. Sounds good. Why don't we start there? And so that's the sort of thing that we're trying to do is trying to have these more open lines of communication rather than yelling and punishing and those sorts of things, because it's just, we found that it just creates more behavior that we don't like, because then they model our yelling.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's maybe a little new agey, but it's working for my kids. I mean, my kids naturally have anxiety and depression and those sorts of things. So yelling in my household doesn't work. Like it made the situation worse. So I had to come up with a different methodology for being able to do this. It's not going to work for everybody, right? That's the whole idea of this whole all parenting advice is wrong from Yuko Munakata, right? Is that you have to design your parenting style for what your kids are going to react properly to. You know, for my 3 girls, because they're all different parenting styles work for each one. I can't do a blanket thing that works for all 3 of them, because it just fails.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And we can't expect our kids to just follow what works for us, because they're kids. They're not adults. They don't have the processing power to
Well, they've got lives too, ain't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to be controlled by like puppets all their life, do they? You know.
That's right.
I mean?
Yeah.
Let's watch this video. Now I found it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I decided to do this video. My life was amazing. And then once I actually realized that there was families like this on YouTube, my life sucked. If you've never seen these families before, you're lucky. And by the end of this video, you'll see what I mean when I say they are the worst. Over the past week, I've been trying to find the worst family on YouTube. I need to find a family that makes horrible videos. And eventually, later on in this video, I'm going to talk to somebody in the family. I might have to go undercover. I don't know. I'm just going to try to talk to the daughter and the son and the mom and the dad and the grandpa. We're going to be messaging everybody in the family. It's going to be crazy. Hopefully, at least one of them answers me. And then we can start asking them crazy questions. And hopefully, we can clean up YouTube. Welcome to the worst family on earth. Here's how this video is going to work. I have a case that I need to complete. My case today is to try to decide which one of these 3 families is the mega super worst family of them all. Basically, like if you're the worst, you win this big shiny trophy. Once we decide together which one the worst family is, we're going to try to message them or interview them or whatever we can do. We're going to see if they can answer me. Spoiler alert, this is DJ from a couple weeks later. You do not want to miss the end of this video. We actually talk to somebody of the family who won the challenge, and wow, it was crazy. You have to see it. This first family we're going to take a look at is Daddy 05 and Mommy 05, like the Family 05 channel, I guess you could say. Their real names are Michael Martin and Heather Martin. The videos they posted on their channels were super rude. They would show them being mean to their children, screaming at them, breaking their PlayStations. They called these videos pranks, but screaming at your kids for doing nothing at all does not seem like a prank to me. The worst part of it was that they had 5 kids, but only 2 of them really got bullied. The other 3 never really got abused. One of the kids, his name was Cody, and that was the one that they abused the most. It seemed like they hated him. Putting Cody up for adoption prank, where they tell Cody they have to give him away because he's too annoying. He's literally like 8 years old. Come on, guys. Lost child prank on Cody, where they literally go to the mall and then they hide from Cody. He gets so scared he doesn't know where his family is. Why did everybody agree to do this? Picking Cody out prank, and once again, he made another video trying to prank his kid. He tells him he has to leave and get out. Like, why does the dad want the kid to leave so badly? The way that they abused these kids were crazy, and people started to notice what was happening. The police got involved, and both the mom and dad supposedly got hit with child neglect charges, and they could not talk to Cody or Emma. These two kids both found new families, and I really hope they're doing okay now. Emma was the other child that they also abused in those videos. That's crazy to me. I mean, why have kids if you're just going to abuse them? All of their videos have since been deleted off of YouTube, but I was able to find a couple of videos that were re-uploaded by different people, and those were the ones that I showed you earlier. His sons actually have a channel named the Martin Boys. I expected them to have an awesome channel and do better than their dad, but I swear to God, they followed in his footsteps. They posted a video titled, "Making Fun of Strangers in Public." These are the same kids that were getting abused. They're doing it to other people a couple years later. If we end up messaging them at the end of the video, I'll have some pretty nice words for these kids that are making fun of people.
Well, there you go. So when I said to you earlier, Warren, about they follow their example about families following.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're seeing here. Do you agree?
Yeah, it makes me so upset to watch that.
So what made you upset when you was watching that then?
So I recognize that there are lots of parents who struggle with their kids. And, I mean, my podcast is called Flawed Dad. Like, I recognize that I have challenges with my kids. But to publicly humiliate your kids with the intention of profiting off of it rather than helping and making the situation better and trying to make positive changes to the world, to me is just
sick.
It's deplorable. It's criminal. It's awful. I have a really tough time watching it where you are when it's not an emotional outburst like muscle memory of okay, your kids did something bad, you're angry about it, you yell. Yes, we shouldn't be doing that, but I get it. I understand why you do it. It's something that happens, and it happens to every parent. But when you go out of your way to do it as a form of entertainment, then I have a big problem with that.
Yeah,
I think that's
I think they need to be locked up, mate. That's what they need to be done.
Yeah.
They need to be that is totally entertainment. They're probably making YouTube bigger so they can profit from YouTube.
I'm happy to hear that they no longer have access to their kids. And I don't say that lightly, because as I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of government intervention in a household, but that's a situation where I am happy to see that is that's one where there's no valid explanation as to, oh, my kid knew that this was happening, or I apologized afterwards and they knew that they were a part of, a prank scenario. Those kids are too young. They don't have the emotional, psychological wherewithal to be able to withstand that type of treatment and not come out extremely damaged. Well, and then to see it repeating the cycle, it's just, it bothers me.
And that's what I said about earlier about when there's abuse in the house, when the children are younger, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But when they get to a certain point in their life, they think, oh, hang on for a second, this is what's happened to me. And with that video, what they were doing was profiting off the kids. Yeah. They were abusing them. There's one point through the video, I don't know if you ever watched the video, but there's one point where the father's actually beating the kid up. And it's got all these views and everything, and it's really bad. Abuse needs to stop, and it needs to stop now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as I said, it's not something that everybody can stop immediately, but it's something that we have to work towards. We have to take realistic step towards it. Create new muscle memory with regards to how we react to situations.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. That's really good. Thank you.
That's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes. See you next week.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.